Okay. In Wow. Hello, sorry. I thought it was counting down. It was counting up because we have started. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Something to Chew on talk show. This is where we love to bring guests on to help support you in achieving greater health, greater wealth, and really success from the inside out. I always like to say we're giving you something to chew on. And so I'm your host, Christine Fraser. It's great to see some familiar faces in our audience, the attendees, as you come on. Just know that you have the opportunity to ask questions to our guests. So it's really special that you get to be here live with Becky. And I just want you to know that you can applaud whenever you want. You can type in any questions, and we will get to them. So stay interactive with the conversation, and we're excited to share this information. So I'm the founder of Inner Glow Getter. Our mission is really to help women build the lives that they want from the inside out. And we use the tools of food and healing, which really ties into our guest today, which is Miss Becky Hurley. And I'm going to dive into our introduction of Becky. Becky is an investor, a speaker. She's the author of Building Dreams. She has gone through an abusive upbringing to this journey of healing, and has led her to an multiple eight figures really, a real estate portfolio, all kinds of beautiful things, and love, and a beautiful relationship, and a family, and this incredible farm of your dreams, which it looks so beautiful out there. But welcome, Becky. I'm so excited for you to share some of your wisdom with my community here, and allow people to step into some expansion today. That's what I'm hoping for today. So I would love to start by just getting an idea. I want to start from the end and then go back to the beginning. So
Okay.
tell us, we're going on this healing journey with you. I want to know, and if you could share with everybody, what has healing done for you in your own life? What is the successes, the outcome? What have you built now in your life? I mean, I touched on a tidbit of it.
I would say the number one thing that healing has done for me is make me a person that I like to be around. And because it's made me a person I like to be around, it's made me a person my husband wants to be around and my kids enjoy being around, even though they may not tell you based on the day, because I'm still a mom that has to,
Yes.
make sure they're eating healthy, right? Things like
Mhm,
that.
mhm. Yes.
But I feel like it has made me less triggered, and it makes me work through emotional outbursts faster, or emotional just feelings that are coming up. And now I realize when things come up, it's meant to come up so it can come out. So I feel like
Mhm.
the healing journey for me, it's made me somebody I like, and I love, actually, somebody I love and
Mm.
want to be around. And um, I'm just really grateful to have learned all the different healing modalities, to be able to break the cycle and break the chains and break the mold of the past
Yes.
and not recreate the cycle. So that to me is everything.
Amazing. And I love that you shared, really, you started with what it's brought to you as a person.
Yeah.
And now that's the inside. What does it look like on the outside?
On the outside, I feel more confident in my own skin. I
Mhm.
know that I was able to grow a multi-million-dollar company in
Mhm.
rural Midwest. It is not an area that people regularly applaud, people who go beyond the multi-million-dollar mark, the eight-figure mark.
Mhm.
Once you kind of get there in this area, it's kind of like, shh, you're not supposed to talk about that. And here I
Yes.
am on social media. I'm talking about it. I'm teaching courses on real estate investing. I am launching my book, Building Dreams, Finding
Yeah.
Freedom Through Healing, in 1 week. And so I am sharing some really deep stories in here. It's a lot of the mess that you go through on a healing journey. I think that one of the things that I wanted is to see I read so many entrepreneurial books and their stories so that I could heal and I could overcome, but none of them really shared the deep, dark mess
Yes.
and just
Mhm.
the vulnerability. Everybody says real and raw, but rarely do they actually go really deep.
Yes, and it becomes unrelatable, right? A lot of people see
Yeah.
this like, "Oh, and people write these books where they're like, yeah, I made it to my millions and I went through some tough times, but it's like, what were the
But
tough
it was all
times? Like,
worth it, you know, like, they
what,
all
yeah, yeah, like, and it's like, meanwhile, people are sitting there in their real lives, like drowning in, you know, abusive relationships or in these types of scenarios, not knowing that way out. So, okay, so this is a question that came to mind. I literally added it right before the call because I was like, this is something I really want to ask you.
yeah,
You know, you said you come from the Midwest, this small town. I feel the same. Like I grew up in, you know, Sylvan Lake, Alberta, like 5,000 people or 10,000 people, I think now. And when I got into sort of expansive mindset work and things, I started to think outside the box. And something with inner glow is, you know, your level of consciousness will start to, you'll start to meet the people, you'll start to have the resources come to you as you expand your mindset, your consciousness, your ability to hold that or believe in it in a sense. So
totally.
I'm curious for you, what was it when I ask a lot of women, you know, what's their big dream? They say things like, "I wanna do yoga 3 days a week." And I'm like, that's not a big dream to me, you know, what's the big dream? So what was it in you that got
Mhm.
you thinking bigger in the first place?
Yeah. I would say I've always been really intuitive, but I didn't know it back, when I was
Mhm.
a kid. And I would say, okay, so I share in my book a lot of vulnerable stories of growing up in an abusive family in a household behind
Yes.
closed doors. But in the public eye, we were a very upstanding, all American farm family in
Mhm.
public. And it wasn't until I started sharing my stories, I have a mini documentary that I created that I shared the behind closed doors actual version of what my life was like. And
Mhm.
and I feel and people and I was so nervous about sharing that because I think as a survivor of any kind of abuse, you're always afraid that you're not going to be believed. And I
Mhm.
was so terrified that
And
people
you
would
don't
just,
wanna shame the people. It's, like, hard to
yeah.
shame even the abusers.
And they're all
They're
alive
close.
and they
Yeah.
only live an hour from me. So I am
Yeah.
literally sharing the dirt under the rug in front of everyone. This is, like, probably one of the most vulnerable stands people can take, right? Like, right in
Yes.
your face. And I'm not sharing it as bitterness, anger, and resentment. I'm sharing it from a place of love. And I have
Mhm.
reconciled with those people, and we get together once in a while. And
Wow.
and I've shared those stories now. It took me 7 years.
Wow.
And it took me writing this book for it to happen. And
Mhm.
I feel like I've always had these big dreams. I've always been an entrepreneur at a young age. I share stories about how I learned how to make scrunchies on a sewing machine and I would sell them on the playground, or I would learn how to, you know, I would sell my Halloween candy as a kid instead of eat it.
Mhm.
But
That's cute.
now I take it away from my kids when they get it because, healthy eating. But I
Mhm.
think the expansiveness was we had a family member that was a real estate investor when I was a kid, and I never really thought much of it other than he drove really nice vehicles. He had a beautiful lake home. He had a lot of finer things that we never had. And
Mhm.
it was noticeable, but I never really thought anything of it until I had gone through college to become a teacher,
Mhm.
be a teacher. And I
Yes.
realized my income was not matching my dreams. And I had really big dreams. And I never realized how much those dreams were going to cost. Nobody ever taught me that. And so
Mhm.
somebody told me, like, try investing in real estate. And I read books and listened to podcasts. And then I signed us up for like $50,000 worth of courses.
Wow.
Um, and we learned and we did it. And we have never looked back. And so I feel like now I'm on a mission to share that with other people because nobody ever taught me to think big and then to calculate the cost of like what those dreams are going to cost and how much are you going to
What it's
have to
gonna
bring in.
cost you. That's a
Yeah.
really, you know, it's so funny. I remember thinking the same thing. You know, like, oh, I wanna be so I was so about impact. I wanna like change the world, you know, kind of impact driven, but there's still that financial part of like the $1,000,000, but you don't realize like to go to the $1,000,000, you're gonna be probably investing close to $1,000,000 up front to get there in a way.
Mhm.
And then it kind of goes from there. But it's interesting. Um, so you went from, okay, so you always had this big thoughts. You go on this big journey. Tell us a little bit of this story behind the scenes as you're growing and getting towards where you started to realize that you needed some more of these healing works. Like, because did you go into the real estate empire? You started building this in that kind of hustle mode
Mhm.
and then fall into the healing, is
I
my
was
understanding.
I was all in on financial freedom. Like when I had learned
Okay.
about real estate investing, a lot of the books taught about financial freedom and nobody had
Yeah.
ever mentioned that term to me before. And I was
Mhm.
like, yes, sign me up all day long. I don't in the abuse that I had endured, it was a lot of finances. Like, don't it's almost like they didn't want me to make money because they wanted me to be dependent on them and also
Mm.
not to outshine them. And so when I started my home building and real estate company, um, I was still in relationship with my family, and I was
Mhm.
told, "You're greedy, you're selfish, you whatever." And that was literally like the last straw for me was this giant, like, I will not be told that. I am taking matters into my own hands. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be told that I'm greedy and selfish, but that also could be a Midwest mindset, right? But I also think it's a narcissistic mindset of, trying to keep you small. And
Mhm.
I I just wanted more for my life, and I wanted to create a legacy for my family to leave behind, but
Mhm.
also the healing journey. So where did the healing come in? Man, I didn't know anything about healing until I was 35 years old. We
Mhm.
had reached our first $1 million year, and we had
Mhm.
reached our definition of what financial freedom is when your passive income meets or exceeds your living expenses. And we
Yes.
had reached that in 2020. Which was a
Wow.
year the rest of the world was falling apart, and here we are, like, celebrating, and we're like, "We can't tell anyone because the rest of the world is going to shit right now."
Yes.
And it
Yes.
was such a realization to me, but then also what's happened simultaneously was my body broke, I was exhausted, our health, both my husband and I, our health was deteriorating, and we started
Mhm.
going to health, like, uh, holistic doctors because I believe in
Mhm.
holistic medicine. I will go to a holistic doctor 9,000 times before I go to Western medicine.
Mhm.
With me. I have had C-sections, so there is a place for all of this stuff, right? There is a
Yes.
place for all the stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but they were telling us, like, if you don't slow down, like, you will not have anything to live for. You will not. And I was like, I don't have time to listen to this, right? And then when your health breaks down, you're crawling back into their office, like, what's wrong with me? And they're like, I told you, you need to slow down. And and so that really started the health journey, but also what started it was parenting because
Mhm.
toddlers are so emotional and just I was I was counteracting their emotional outbursts with my rage and emotional outbursts that were coming
Mm.
out of nowhere. And my husband was like, "You're starting to repeat the cycle that you've been
You
wanting."
birthed the little mirrors. Yes.
Yeah,
You get
and
the
I
little
remember,
mirrors.
and that was such a traumatizing moment for me because I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." He's like, "Your family is starting to come out."
Wow.
And that night, I booked a therapist. I had never been to a therapist. Can you imagine going through 3.5 decades of trauma? It's not childhood trauma because it was still following me into my 30s. So
Yeah.
it's family like domestic, just it's mental, emotional abuse throughout life.
Yeah.
And I finally went to a therapist and I was paying $160 a time and going 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week. I
Wow.
mean, I was like, I have to do this for my family. I have to do this because I said I was gonna break the cycle, and
Mhm.
dang it, I'm gonna freaking break the cycle. And so
Yes.
that's it. And then also writing this book,
Mhm.
um, which I fully intended this to be all about entrepreneurship and starting businesses.
Mhm.
I had a tagline of finding personal and financial freedom through healing because
Mhm.
I I broke down when I wrote this book. I realized that I had so much uh anger, resentment, and bitterness like festered into my body that as I
Mhm.
was writing the book and as the stories were coming out and as I was starting to share more of my trauma and my background, which I was literally like kicking and screaming to not share, but I was working with two book coaches that were like, you should probably share this stuff. This is pretty good. And I was like,
Wow.
I don't want to. And then finally,
Yeah.
I was like, dang it, I'm sharing it. I'm not holding back anymore. I'm not keeping
Well,
secrets.
that's the real stuff that more people relate to than you'll ever know, right? Like
Totally.
it's
And boundary setting,
everybody's living
family.
behind these. Yeah, so this is perfect segue because I wanted you so you go to this, you're becoming a parent, you're getting super triggered. I think a lot of women go through that and
Yeah.
where they start to have the mirrors come out, right? And it's like, wait a second, I need to deal with what's going on inside of me in order to live a better life. So you went to therapy. Now guide us through some of these other steps of healing. We talk about spiritual healing, emotional healing, financial healing. I mean, there's a lot of story that you're sitting with for your whole life. So I find that very fascinating that you were able to break through in that regard, because everything that we're capable of is just a reflection of our inner state. It's like our mindset, our heart set, all of those things, like to exceed from that $1 million mark to that's insane too, because that's a short window. That's only 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's only 4 years ago. It's wild.
4 years ago,
Yeah.
this
And
is the
6
thing about
years prior,
expansion.
6 years for my 30th birthday, we had no money and I didn't even have a car. Like I had
Wow.
quit my job to become an entrepreneur and I had to give my company vehicle back. And
And
we
this
could
is the
not afford
speed.
a car.
Oh, you are such an example to me too of the quantum shifts, because it is like when you get that inner decision and that inner like breakthrough, it's like it quantum leaps your life. It's kind of like, that's how I see it. Is I know for myself, when I got to Bali, I always have to plug my Bali retreats, because, and I hope you come to one of them too sometime,
I want to.
because they are so transformative on that inner, because you go through such deep inner healing work in a concentrated amount of time. You connect to this quantum source that it's like planting a new seed, and the ripple effect is like, I've gone, you've heard some of my story and my own like debts. And I just sort of decided and went through this release work. And it's like, I found it was more about releasing than it was about doing more and efforting. It was like, what else can I let go of the story? Let's let that go. Let's let go that I'm not enough. Let go that I can't do this. Let's let that go. Let that go. And all of a sudden, everything floods in from places that I found very unexpected. So I'm curious too, in your journey, of how what other tools and modalities you were using on that healing journey. That
Yeah.
started with therapy. Then
I
what
started
happened?
with therapy and then I signed up for a business coach that was very spiritual, female entrepreneur focused, which I had
Mm-hmm.
never even knew about feminine energy before I worked with them. I
Mm-hmm.
had no connection with God, which I would pray to God, but it was only out of desperation when I was literally on my knees, like, why? What's going on? And
Yeah.
so it was like a spiritual entrepreneur, life coach, business coach, like amazing group that I got to be part of all at once.
Got it.
And um and that was huge for me. And from them, I met my book coach because I came into them saying like, I want to write a book. That was like one
Wow.
of my big goals. And they were like, well, why haven't you written it yet? And I listed off all the reasons why I haven't written it yet. And they're like, no, it's because of you. And I was like, F you. And they were
Mm-hmm.
like, are you signing up for a coaching program? I'm like, yes, I am, but it was
Wow.
like they called me out and I found my book coach through them, who was also a life coach,
Mm-hmm.
and listened to me cry into her phone all the time about writing this book. And from
Mm-hmm.
there, I also met a higher consciousness guide. So
Mm-hmm.
a woman who I coached with every month. I did a 6-month coaching with her and learned way
Mm-hmm.
more about spiritual healing and just
Mm-hmm.
connecting into the higher realm, clearing out negative
Yeah.
energy, calling it back your energy. Stuff I
Mm-hmm.
do every day now. I learned so much about meditation prior to being in any of those coachings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about meditation. I thought it was woo. I didn't have time for it. I thought all these
Yeah.
hokey people just sit around on yoga mats.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that, people. And now
Yes.
it is everything. Like I'm reading Joe Dispenza book.
Yes.
Where I'm just like, I can't, like, the stories you can't not you can, like, his stories with our
Yeah, one of my tattoos is, once you know, you can't unknow.
you can't unknow. It's
You can't
wild.
unknow.
And
Mhm.
so that unlocked so much for me. I worked with energy healers. I worked with
Mhm.
holistic doctors.
Mhm.
My whole family, we healed so many different things, like so much stuff that was clogging. Like I had brain fog and they were like, well, you've got this thing. And I won't go into all the detail, but like they
Yeah,
see stuff that most doctors can't find out about
of
you.
course. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was just and just teaching me about cutting off negative energy from other people that I was absorbing so much negative energy.
Mhm.
So those were the steps I took was learning how to do all of those different things. Then I became part of like my next coaching group, which was with Altar Call.
Yes.
with you, and I
That's
went
where we met.
to a
Yeah.
spiritual retreat that they had in Arizona, and I remember being there, and Ryan was doing a forgiveness exercise and burning letters, and I had done that
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 other times with my coaching group, my other coaching
Mhm.
group,
Mhm.
and I thought I just wasn't ready for it yet. I was like, "What is this gonna do? Writing a letter is gonna heal me? Like, what?"
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was so skeptical, but
Mhm.
something with him sharing his story of his family and his dad, and like it really resonated with me, and I don't know, like that changed a lot of things for me. Learning about breath work and sound healing changed a lot of things for me. The sweat lodge stuff, like
Mhm.
so many
And
things that I used to think were so wild.
well, what I love about your journey too is so many people, I think there are a lot of people that don't really embody wealth that are doing a lot of these things. Like, and they're staying stuck in sort of that, like they're going to sound, they're doing their meditations, they're doing a lot of the healing work, but they're not getting into the expansiveness and letting it in and going there. Do you have any words of wisdom for people like that? Because
Yeah,
I have very good friends of mine that are very successful financially, and they think what I do is a little on the woo side. I know they do.
totally.
And they're just like, whatever. But but when you see the results, when you start to see the results, and it took me a long time to get to where I was even having any results.
Mhm.
And so you're kind of like acting in this faith a little bit and being like, I
Right.
think this is gonna do something. But yeah, once I started doing more deep dives, once I got to Bali, it was like game on, I felt found. But then similar to you with Ryan, I had done a lot of exercises, but it's when you really embody it,
Yeah.
right? Anybody can write down forgiveness letter, put it in the fire. Like the action isn't the thing.
Mhm.
It's the intention and the can you actually feel it and let it go kind of thing. And that's an inside job.
Totally, and it was because of him that I reconciled with my family, and
Wow. That's
I
amazing.
never I had written it off. I was like, "I don't think I'm ever
Wow.
gonna reconcile. I don't think my kids are ever gonna meet them." Like,
Wow.
and it was because of him and connecting to God, and he was like, "That is a Christ-like thing to do," and I actually met with him the day that I reconciled because I was so nervous. I was like, "I have to talk to
Yeah.
you," you know? And so having coaches and mentors is such an important step of the process, and having people who have
Yes.
walked before you to walk you through it, even though like, yeah, I am teaching people how to make multi-millions of dollars. And
Mhm.
I know that now here's the expansive part is now that I've done all of this healing. So I've kind of reached this level of financial freedom, which is
Yes.
still doing great. Um,
Yes.
it's going good. And we kind of like took a little break from like the hustle. So we're not building custom homes anymore. That was like such a hustle thing. And it was really the thing
Yeah.
that kind of broke us a lot especially during the pandemic. But I know
Yeah.
now that if I go back into home building again, because I don't know that I'm done forever, and I've kind of said that
Yeah.
at the beginning, is I will know how to put systems and processes in place so that I take time for me, so that I take time
Mhm.
so that I take time for workouts and meditation and family
Mhm.
vacations, and that I put these people in place so that we all can benefit, so that they can have vacations,
Mhm.
that I can have, like, and
Mhm.
I know that now. And I know that after this period we've had of like just healing, I've needed to heal and I'm ready to launch this book now. And I know that during this period, like I just needed to get myself to this place. And now I'm also
Mhm.
at this place, I'm ready to launch things. Like I'm ready to get back to
Yes.
running a real estate business. And I think that it's like a different version of hustle. It's not the hustle till you break your back anymore.
No.
It's go because you're excited. It's go because
Yeah.
you have something to offer to people. It's go because why not?
It's
Like
the flow. It's like you're connecting more from a state of I know this is something what I really struggled with too as an engineer to inner glow was I was in that go. I think a lot of people relate to that. That's how most of us are raised, like go, work hard, do all these things rather than like letting things channel through you. It's like they're it's infinite. There's no tired, there's no exhaustion. It's just like like everybody can see just how you are, just how you're speaking. It's like you have it. You got the glow. You got
yeah,
the inner glow. And
yeah.
it's where that flow just kind of comes inspired. And I think that's really special. I remember even Robin Sharma said, take yourself to on a weekend. And he said, go to your favorite hotel, invest $7,000 or something in a penthouse suite. And he's telling people who don't have the money to do this, right? He's like, go spend 7,000. He's like telling people to do things that they don't have the money for. And he's like, you go get the massage, go get the weekend. You will put yourself in the consciousness of worthiness. And then he's like, and I want you to sit there for the weekend and ask, what's my $1 million gift to the world?
Yes.
And he said, oh, it's so good, because it gave me goosebumps, because I want to tell people all the time about that investment in yourself too, in the mentorships, in the things that do good for your soul. And then he said at the end, he's like, now you have $1 million idea. And he's like, so it costs you 7,000. Your gross, your net income from that is 999,900, whatever, minus the 7,000 for the penthouse suite. So people are coming in thinking, I can't afford the penthouse suite, but he's like, look at what you gain from that.
Totally. 100%.
So what step, that's another one I was curious with you, is what was that shift for you? Because you were a school teacher, you said you made $30,000 a year going into, so that's a big shift. I'd like to dive into that a little bit for our guests. And please, for those of you attending live, if you got a question on your heart, if you're like, I have this belief, like, how do I overcome? You can ask anonymously if you would like to. I really encourage the questions. So that would be my question for our audience is, what was that shift like? Because that's a big shift to go from the school teacher to, you said you invested $50,000, but where did this $50,000 come from? Or these things, like, that's where I think a lot of people get stuck. Totally. And then they don't think it's possible.
Yeah. So I was a teacher, and then I quit my job to become a nonprofit employee, making like $2,000 more than I was as a teacher, working year round instead of 9 months, and then I met my husband, and my husband was an entrepreneur. And so I have not done this alone. I have done this in conjunction with my husband, and he was a born entrepreneur, had a landscaping business. He was like the local lawn boy that started his business in high school. By the time he was done with high school, he was making as much money, if not more, than his teachers, only during the summer months. Wow. And he and I met right when he was still in like the height of his landscaping career. We were young, 21 and 25. He was the 21-year-old. And I was the 25-year-old. Everybody thinks it's the other way around. And I remember being so excited because I wanted to be an entrepreneur and had never really met anybody who was.
Well, this is what I want to even touch on, because I already know people are going to say, oh, then now I need a partner to reach her level of success. Or I remember I'd go to Jack Canfield events and he'd tell me what university he went to. I'm like, well, I didn't go to Cambridge University, so I can't probably have that. So it's almost like, but I want to point out something that's really critical, because you said your mind was already here. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I want this. The consciousness matches the people, experiences, and things will come into your life, including that partner of yours, because of your level of consciousness. You called in someone that was going to birth this life with you. So I love this.
And that's exactly what it was. It was like we met, and it was like, oh my gosh. And it was kind of like we built this together. Like we totally 100%, this was a together thing, because he was very happy to do landscaping in the summer and snowmobile in the winter. And so I was over here like, excuse me, you are 21 years old. Now is go time. You are not snowmobiling all winter long and reading the paper. This is not, you can do that like 50 years from now. Okay. And so I was like, let's think of some other things we can do together. And that's where I am the one who had the idea to invest in real estate. And he was like, well, I've helped a couple people around town fix and flip properties. And he was helping other investors, and he was doing the gutting and the remodeling. He actually helped build the house that I moved into and rented. And I met him while he was putting in the lawn. So I met him in my front yard of my house. And so I am the one who started reading the real estate investing books out loud to both of us as we were heading on vacation to Florida in our first year of dating. And I'm the one who signed us up for the courses because I didn't know anything. And I was like, I need to learn this before I'm going to invest in stuff. And so while we were taking the courses, so we paid with his money. So basically I started dating him, spent all of his money on courses. but I was like, this is going to work out. I promise, I'm like, I
Mhm.
promise this is going to work out. And
Mhm.
it was kind of one of those things where he didn't go to college. And so we considered it his college education.
I love that. Mhm.
And so it was really, we started our business together. We got engaged. We started it before we were married.
Mhm.
And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of like doing it together. And I am always like a very forward visionary person, pushing us
Mhm.
to the next level. And he's always like oh no, here she goes. She's got an idea again.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's definitely a together thing. But then when we started building homes, it was also a like, who does what in this relationship? Because neither of us had built homes before. And so
Wow.
he took on the general contractor role and got his general contractor license. And I took on the real estate broker role and got my real estate broker's license so that
Wow.
he could build the homes and I could sell them and I could, design them with the customers. And I had no
Wow.
design background, but now I could build a house with my eyes closed. I could design it with my eyes like I could do all of that now, but I didn't know how
Wow.
to do any of that at first. I
That's
went to
amazing.
college for agriculture education,
Yeah.
here I am now teaching multimillion-dollar real estate investing strategies and inner work and healing, so how do you mash those two together? I don't
Yes.
know, you know?
You're building dreams from the inside out.
Yeah.
You're
And now
building
I'm
dreams
just
from the inside out.
excited for like what the next level is because
Yeah.
the healing came after we had built all of that. And it was like
Mhm.
I had not even hardly shared with him the amount of abuse that I had gone through. And then
Wow.
it just kind of started bubbling out like after we had kids and when the book, and so it's
And
just
it sounds like the book was part of your healing, was the writing it out. And that's the beautiful thing about writing. It's a huge aspect of our work at Inner Glow. It's a lot of journaling aspects. And it's funny because I just got off a call with a client this morning she's like, I didn't think I could journal the way you taught it. It was just like, this is unbelievable. Like already having massive shifts, but just having processes for journaling. So is
Mhm.
there anything that you felt with the writing of the book
Yeah.
um, that was really shifting or something that you could share with people in their own maybe their journaling practices? Maybe not everybody's going to go write a book right now, but something that they can do that's maybe healing in their writing processes that would be helpful.
So I knew I wanted to write a book and share all of the lessons I learned, but I was so
Hmm.
of I was afraid of like just outing people in my life. But
Yeah.
I just there was something in me that I've been journaling out my life story forever, and I think that it is so powerful. And for me, I think the healing process came when I started sharing it and I knew I was going to write a book and I knew like potentially millions of people could read my life story. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, here we go.
Hmm.
Here we
Hmm.
go. But I don't know what it was, even though it was kind of like when I was going through the healing while I was writing my book, I went through a 12-month period where I was only healthy for 6 weeks
Wow.
combined. I went from back issues where I could hardly get out of bed, like my whole back just was in pain and felt like bubble wrap. It
Hmm.
was so
Hmm.
inflamed.
The
Um,
body manifests the trauma.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it was all festering out. My lungs, so it would go from my back to my lungs, and where I couldn't
Wow.
even breathe. There would be times where I was trying to create this membership community, and when I would get on a Zoom call, my throat would swell shut.
Wow.
And I had to learn about clearing chakras and clearing your throat chakra and like all
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I was learning all of it at the same time where I was trying to launch these things.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it kind of happened all at once, but you don't have to write a book.
Yeah.
And well, here's the other thing that I think you could do is I think you could write a book for
Hmm.
yourself. Or you
Yeah.
could write a book for your kids to read someday so that they know what you went through. Or you could write a book and just share it with like your best friend or something like that, where at
Hmm.
least you're sharing it with somebody who's gonna understand it or
Mm.
you aren't keeping it inside anymore. And I think that that's such
Well,
a
I think that's beautiful that you're sharing that because I think one of the biggest tools of healing is being seen,
totally,
being
totally,
being
yeah,
fully seen, right? It's the same thing in relationship, right? When you meet someone and they see your happy, great side, but then they get to see the other side, and it's like being witnessed in that is healing.
yeah,
Can be
yeah,
really healing too. Whereas a lot of people kind of hide parts of themselves versus let
right.
them out. Better out than in, I always say.
And I will say, so I'm launching in a few days, launching this book, and
Mhm.
I've had pre-readers reading my book all summer long.
Yeah.
And getting the feedback from the pre-readers has been one of the greatest experiences of my life, because I could
Wow.
cry just talking about it, because man, like I was so nervous sharing this with the world. Like sharing your story is probably the most vulnerable thing you can do in life. Like
Yeah.
sharing it with your partner, but then sharing it with the world,
Yeah.
and kind of just waiting on that feedback. And the feedback I have been getting from this book is, I don't know any other book, and I'm just going to puff for a minute. I don't know any other personal development book that when people have read it, they get sweaty palms. They start crying at a certain chapter, and people have given me feedback like, I am shaking right now. I am in tears right now. I am
Yes.
frozen right now.
Yes.
I've learned that I have been not actually doing the healing work. I thought I was
Mhm.
healing because I set the boundary and I don't talk to that person anymore, but I realized
Mhm.
I am harboring anger and resentment, and
That's
like,
like this much of it, right? It's a lot
yeah,
of people only understand surface level healing. They don't understand the energy healing, the
yeah,
clearing, that deeper like trauma release type work, right?
mhm,
So
yeah.
tell us now. So you that's a pretty big quantum shift now. So you build this $1 million. What's this? You go into the healing, you're writing the book, and you escalate to like it's over 50 million in
Yeah.
revenue
Mhm.
in a 4-year window from the healing to that. And that's the thing when a lot of people are worried about, investing the 50,000 or the 10,000, even the 3,000 for a weekend event that could change your life. I
Totally.
find things that I've gone to $5,000 weekends and it's like, whoa, but I got this expansiveness out of it. And so,
Yeah.
for you, it's like, it, you talked about the cost. Actually, I kind of want to touch on that, the cost of building what you want. What do you feel like, what would you express that investment like?
I feel like here's where I'm at. So when we first invested, the first investment we made was $35,000 into real estate investing courses. We
Mhm.
now own $30 million worth of real estate investing, cash flow
Mhm.
producing assets that are just out there making
Yeah.
money every month. And then the 50 million in revenue was from our home building company. So that was the
Yeah.
revenue that we took and we bought real estate investment properties with.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when my husband was landscaping, he would get $3,000 to $5,000 landscaping jobs. And when he said no to landscaping, he said yes to $30,000 to $50,000 a house that we would build. And
Mhm.
now we have kind of we are done with the home building right now and investing in real estate properties that we can generate equity in of
Mhm.
500,000 to $1 million in equity from buying
Mhm.
a property and flipping it. There is no way that I could do that if I hadn't taken the risk. And I
Yeah.
feel like you have to be willing to take the risk and go
Mhm.
all in and try. And I think that if it's on your heart telling you whatever it is, it's meant for you. It is so meant
That's
for you.
it.
And so go for it. You have this one life. It is now. Like, go do the thing. If you want to write a book, go write the book. If you want
Yes.
to buy a house in a different country or a different state or some other, go
Mhm.
there and just put
Mhm.
yourself into the moment. And I'm gonna tell you, like, it's not gonna come like, oh, it's all amazing all at once. Like, it may be if you're in the right mindset for it. But I know that also when I quit my job to be an entrepreneur, I went down into a hole right away and was in depression for like a year.
Yes.
Didn't have a car, all these things.
Been there too. Yes. Mine was about 3 years. Yeah,
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 and I was
exactly.
like, "What
It's
did I just do?" And
it's
I
like a
was so
humbling.
embarrassed to get my real estate license because I was like, "I have a master's degree in education. I'm not getting a
Mhm.
$300 real estate license," you know?
Yes.
And it's like, why? Just go and try it. And in my first
Mhm.
year, without even trying as a real estate agent, I made over 100 grand. And I was like, I'm not
Mhm.
even trying,
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes whatever the thing we resist the most is probably the thing you should do.
It's a big one. That's a big one. And it's funny because what would you say to someone who feels like, "But I don't know what's on my heart?"
Yeah. I would give yourself a weekend away. Give
Yes,
yourself a
yes.
weekend
It
away.
is there, it is there, it is there, I agree.
Yeah.
I often
Go to
tell
the
people,
Bali
"You
retreat
gotta."
with Kristen,
Yes,
and
yes,
you'll probably figure it
exactly.
out.
Yes. That's it too, right? It's like giving yourself the space to let it in. We are all guided,
Yeah.
all of us, every single one, and we have infinite resources. I believe every single person has infinite resources. The question is, how much are you letting in? How much are you stepping through the humanness? Like if we just understood that our human mechanisms are overcomable, and then you can truly step into that limitlessness.
Wow.
That's my mission to the world. I often talk about expander people. You
Mhm.
need expander people. People have done it before to be introduced to say, oh wow, she did that. And when you get in rooms with people, that's why I'm so grateful to bring you into our community, to because you're an expander person for a lot of people, right? It's like you're relatable, you have achieved incredible success, but it's also, what I love is you're sharing the journey of that, the mindset, right? The mind just choosing, this is what I want, listening to the heart, choosing the thing, overcoming the obstacles, but then going through the healing to hit that next level,
Right.
the
And
real expansion.
a lot of people, I guess you just have to ask yourself, like, what what pains that you're going through, and are you wanting to continue the pain that you're in, or do you
Hmm.
want the pain of trying something new, or the not the pain,
That's
but like the
yes.
butterflies of trying something new and like worrying. I think the majority of the reason why people don't go after their dreams is because they're afraid of failing.
Hmm.
And it's like whatever, and I can tell you, for the healing side, I am the only one in my family who's done all the stuff that I've done. I
Hmm.
am the youngest of 4. Nobody else in my family thinks they need therapy. And I was like, well, I know what you've been through. It's not
Yes.
what I
I
thought.
love what you're saying. There's, like they say, choose your heart. It's hard to struggle. It's hard to get through life. It's hard to deal with workplace ridiculousness. It's hard to not know what you want, but and then it's hard to pursue your dreams, but choose your hard. It's like choose your hard. And when you choose the hard in the dreams aspect, my belief too is it will be hard, but you will always be caught. And I think that choosing your dreams and stepping into that unknown, that's crazy, where I always like to say, you will fail, and failure is what you want. You want to fail again and again and again, because there's a personal development that happens. And in the personal development that happens, you cultivate faith.
Yeah.
And when you cultivate faith, look out.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a skill set that is developable for everybody if you just choose it. There is no failure. Like, God will not allow it if you allow him in, if you allow it in.
Oh,
Because
I love
I have
that.
literally been there on many occasions where I'm like, oh, I'm a failure, like bawling my brains out too. That kind of like, you think that's just the human in you. That's just like, I call it the human in you, because it's like just like what we think. There is no failure. There literally isn't. And when you kind of hit that rock bottom moment, I think that's what Ryan is so beautiful at expressing too. We both have a similar mentor, Ryan Blair,
Mhm.
who, shout out Ryan Blair, who wrote Rock Bottom to Rock Star. He's like the king of like the rock bottom moments, but it's in those rock bottom moments that you actually realize there is no rock bottom. There never was.
No.
And you're okay, and you're always okay. And then you get up and you realize, like, oh, and then something comes and you connect to the synchronistic moments of life, and then it's magic land.
Yeah. Well, and bringing this book took me 3 years. It's been done for 2 years.
Wow.
I thought I was going to publish it every year for the last 3 years,
Wow.
but I wasn't ready. And so I went through a time, I mean, we go through this. People,
Yes.
like the success that you see, I still have moments sometime during the year where I am like, I throw my hands up like, "Woo!" And like I go through
Yeah.
that.
You
And this
still go through it. Yes.
Yeah, like last fall, I actually went through 3 months of not showing up on social media because I was like, "What's going on? I thought I was gonna launch this book and do this stuff," and it just wasn't clicking, and like it wasn't
Mhm.
aligning, and it wasn't ready yet. But now it is,
Mhm.
and it's here. And
Yes.
so I just want to normalize that even at the level of success that I'm at, I still
Mhm.
go through times where I am questioning, I am confused, I am what is going on? And so
Yes.
I've had to check myself, and I've had to
Mhm.
go back to my healing modalities. I almost said
Yes.
remedies, healing remedies or
Yeah.
modalities,
Yeah.
and go back to like, you know what, just listen in, pray,
Mhm.
call in God, calm
Yes.
down. You're
Yes.
okay. Is everything okay? Do you have food, water, and shelter? Yes. Then calm
Mhm.
down. Okay? Like it's okay.
Yes.
And so I think
Yes.
it's sometimes we get in these moments where we're like, why isn't this working out for me? And it is working out for you. It's just that sometimes the timing of where you want to be is you are just rising to that like level to match it. So
I love that you shared that because I think a lot of people do think, and it does come across that even in my own messaging, I feel like it comes across as like, oh, you're struggling and then you do this thing and then it's bliss, right? As though it's like you're never going to experience the struggle again. It's like, oh, no, you still go through the life, but it's just a level of consciousness that's rising that you don't stay stuck. You use your modalities. You're like, oh yeah, I know how to get out of this. Whereas you don't stay in the victimhood as long, you
yeah,
know, Michael Bernard Beckwith often talks about like levels of consciousness. He's like, you'll go from like the victim to being more aware and all these things, and things will happen in your life. But he's like, you'll always dance between those levels that never ends, no matter what level you are in. And I think that was reassuring for me too, to hear from certain mentors that I'm like, oh, you still feel doubt? Because it normalizes it because you think like, oh, I still feel doubt. Once I get over my doubt, then I can be successful. And it's like, no, you take it with you and you go on.
yeah. And you get through it faster. And I think one
Yeah.
other thing that I wanted to share is because we have shared a mentor with Ryan Blair, one of the
Yes.
things he told me, so I had worked with him through my reconciliation, which was
Mhm.
a little over a year ago in May.
Mhm.
And we had a retreat at his retreat space in Moon Mountain, Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do the reconciliation before my husband and I went out to that retreat. And so I worked with him through that. And he told me, he said, when you do something so big like that and to reconcile and you're finally releasing this anger, bitterness, and resentment that you've been harboring
Mhm.
for decades,
Mhm.
you will go through a 12-month transformation. And I was like,
Mhm.
how do you know? How do you know? And he's like, I know because I've been there.
Yes.
And he said, you're going to go through 6 months of deconstruction and 6 months of reconstruction.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I remember, so this was like in May, in November,
Mhm.
I remember finally feeling like I came out of survival mode for the first time in my life. And I finally released, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't have to live in survival mode anymore. It's so
Mhm.
freeing. And then
Mhm.
it's taken this long to now launch the book in August. And I think that that was
Mhm.
a true statement when he told me that, because it's like, wow, that's why I wasn't ready. And that's why this book wasn't ready to be released to the world, because I needed to do that. I needed to complete that last leg of healing.
I love that, and I think that's really important because I know some of the people I know, watching this or will watch this too, that are kind of in the deconstructing phase. They're kind of, and I think sometimes people go on their healing journeys and then they get a little bit discombobulated in their lives because, and that's where the kind of that awakening and I believe the purpose and the mission will reveal itself through some of that too, right? So some
Mhm.
people, they have the vision on their heart. I know I never had the vision on my heart to be a chef in any way. I was working at a coal mine, and I wanted to, I thought that was going to be my life until I went through my health issues and went on a spiritual journey that opened me up to my truth, which was, wow, I want to guide people through this, and I knew I needed to cook, and it was funny because I didn't know what I wanted. When people asked me, I didn't know, but it was the healing that allowed me to find out. It was like
Mhm.
you get that clarity. So I want to help people and think about people who are in a state of depression right now. They've started some healing journey. They don't know what's on their heart. They don't know what's that next step, and they're on their healing and they're kind of in that deconstruction phase. What would you say to those people?
Keep on going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep learning. Keep just go with where your heart tells you. If there's somebody that
Mhm.
comes into your life that could help heal in a different way, try them out. Like, see what they have to
Mhm.
offer. I've
Mhm.
signed up with so many coaches that for a while I was like on permanent Zoom calls all the time, just
Yes, yes.
but
I've been there too. Like 9 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m., 2 p.m. with this one. I've been on that
yeah.
too. Yeah,
But I
like
feel
who's
like
next?
that was what I needed at the time, and so just listen to your heart about what you need and
Mhm.
what you're feeling, and be honest with yourself and stop burying the feelings. Let
Mhm.
them they will repeat
Out.
the cycle until you learn it. So, don't ignore pain in your body is very wise, and so
Mhm.
whatever your body's telling you, listen to it,
Mm-hmm.
and work through it and keep going.
Wow, it's amazing. And any final words for our guests as we close off here? We have a really special offering from Becky. She's creating community and really working to help other women in their finances, in real estate. I love that. I want to be a part of this. Like, it's really exciting. So I want to know, we have a gift for everybody too from Becky with. I put this one on here, but we're gonna link you to her newsletter and stuff. But this is her 6-step process to freedom. When you type in your name and email here, you'll get immediate access to this beautiful PDF that really it's so clear, and it's things that I feel like I downloaded mine myself, and I was like, gosh, like I find it inspiring coming from you, because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, get clear on what you want, get clear these things, and we forget that that's it. Like,
Yeah.
get clear on what you want. You don't have to know the how.
No.
Get clear on, I want to have a $10 million empire.
Yeah.
If you don't think that you're capable of that, ask yourself, like, that. I think that's my biggest thing with you that I want to really push through for people too, is to hear from you is like, did you know how to build it? How, like, what was your vision at the beginning when you started all of this? Like, you spent this 30,000 on this, but were you thinking, I'm going to build a $10 million empire? I'm going to be able to $50 million in real estate. Like, what was the vision that drove you to do that?
I don't know.
Or was it just like, I want
I
to do
know that I
something
still
bigger?
am going. Like, I want to be a billionaire in 15 years. I'm putting that out
Mm-hmm.
there. I'm going to be a billionaire in 15 years. And people are like, why? I don't know, because I want to, because why not? And I think
Because
for
you
me,
can.
about
And
why not
yes.
see what you can do and have fun? And if I don't get there, I'm not going to be like, oh no, like,
Yeah. And
just
that's the difference between some people who are like, I think there's a success minded out of lack. There's a lot of people that are very, and I've been there too, where I'm very financially driven because I'm actually feeling lack. And that, I always say, you can't get there from there. You
yeah,
don't get to and Ryan went through this. He was like, I thought I needed the planes and the this, but he was really stemmed from so much lack, made, 50 million a year or whatever it was. And then broke down and realized, oh, that's not where happiness is. You have found that source of
mhm,
joy and abundance, and there's so much impact to be made. So
yeah,
what would you say as a final message to everybody? I hope everybody's got to click there and to
yeah.
get into the thing, as a final message for everybody, on building their dreams. What's like your message to the world?
What is my message to the world? My message is to the world is you have this lifetime to go and do and see as much as you can and enjoy it. And God wants you to enjoy life. Life is meant to be lived and lived well. It is meant for you to do all the things that you want to do while you're here on earth. It is meant for you to try the thing, to start the business, to go after the thing that you want to do, see the place that you want to go visit. And when you get held up by roadblocks and maybe there's pivots along the way, just keep going and just pivot with it. It might not happen in the way that you want or you're assuming that it's going to happen. It may happen in a totally different way. But I believe in goals and putting it out there, like me just saying, I will be a billionaire in 15 years. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you that 10 years prior to me being a millionaire, I said I was going to be a millionaire in 10 years and I was going to
Mm-hmm.
reach financial freedom. And wouldn't you know, at the exact 10-year mark, we made our first $1 million year and created financial freedom that year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
your goal, and before I wrote my book, 5 years before my book was completed, I found a journal entry in my journal. That's why journaling is
Mm-hmm.
so important. I found a journal entry that said in 5 years I will have written and published a book or written a book. That's what I said. I will have written
Amazing.
a book in 5 years. And all of a sudden I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, this is 5 years later. And it's so powerful. So pay attention
Mm-hmm.
to your thoughts, pay attention to your words, pay attention to your actions, especially right now. Right now, we're
Mm-hmm.
at a very powerful time of the year for manifesting your dreams into life. And so
Yes.
now is the time to put out there anything that you've ever wanted. Don't think about the money. Don't think about the how. Now is the time. Go get it.
Yes. I have found, even at our retreat, we run a retreat out here on the island a couple weeks ago, and I had a lady not like, and this happens very often. It happens to me too. And sometimes it's a weird balance because some people are in like financial destitute and I'm like, don't go like keep going in financial destitute. Take the next step of like abundance for yourself. But there's some women and some men too, obviously. But it's like there's this like, I want to sign up for the thing, but I don't have the money. And it's like when you sign up for the thing, the money shows up. It's fascinating to me. And that's what I loved about Robin Sharma's thing about this. I would, in my mind right now, I would be like, oh, I wouldn't get the penthouse. I wouldn't get the penthouse. And I question that. Why not? Why not? Why do we think we can't if you really understand universal principles, you step into it, I can feel into it, take the step and it shows up. It's like you have to leap though and the net will appear. And that's my thing too. It's like just leap and it will appear. You might pumble a little bit, but it will appear. And then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's a thing. And you start to connect to this universal energy that's so profound and beautiful. So I love it. So you don't need to know the how, you put it out there. 97% of the world is not doing this. The 3% that actually do this have more wealth, more health, more happiness than 97% of the people that just don't write it down. You just don't write it down. Write it down, put it out there, start dreaming bigger. I hope all of you go get the penthouse suite this weekend.
Yeah.
And start thinking about building your own dreams. Get on Becky's newsletter and get the book because I'm excited to get mine. I'm really looking forward to read more of the story behind it all and get inspired because we all need that inspiration to know it doesn't need to be the $50 million company. Maybe for you, it's having $100,000 a year business. That's not the job that you hate.
Totally. And that'll be putting you on the path to enlightenment and higher vibration. Absolutely. And that'll just unlock so much right there.
And that's what unlocks things. Yes. Amen to that. It's there's a really beautiful quote actually that I would love to share as a closing because I think it resonates. It's resonating for what you're saying. It says, if you don't know what to pursue in your life right now, pursue yourself. Pursue becoming the healthiest, happiest, most healed, most present, most confident version of yourself. Then the right path will reveal itself.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. That's a perfect way to end.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Becky. I'm so excited. You can say, and I'm going to end the call, but thank you, everybody. Oh, I think we might have a question. Do we have any questions? Nope, no questions. I don't see any questions, but thank you so much for everybody joining us live. I hope you got some inspiration. Would love to hear your feedback on the episode too that we can share with Becky. And thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me, Kristen. I appreciate being with you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to share some of my community with my community with my community because I feel like I'm in a lot of different worlds and I'm always like, oh, you need to meet this person. Oh, you don't think you could build a real estate thing? Do you know Becky yet? It's like, because I see some people who have these have these dreams that they don't know how to bring it to fruition. And I think we just need more examples of people that are doing it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I'm so excited for your book to be launched into this world and for you to be able to share all your wisdom.
Go get your copy, Building Dreams.
Yay. Go get your copy. Exactly. We'll be posting it in our groups too.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.